Hey influencers, Josh Steinley coming to you with another one of my early morning pre-shower, in my pajamas, messy hair influencer tip videos. So today I wanted to talk about how I got my first book deal. So my first book is Chief Marketing Officers at Work. It includes 29 interviews with CMOs from companies like GE, Spotify, PayPal, Target, Home Depot, Harvard Business School. And I got a publisher for this book. I had a book deal, I had an advance, I got all that. So here's how this all came together. So the funny part of the story is there's this CMO, Hope Frank. She's now a good friend of mine. But I was in Hong Kong and I went in to pitch this company. Actually, I had already pitched this company. And in fact, we had actually landed a deal with this company. And we were just going in to sign the contract and to get started, to do a kickoff meeting. And we go into this kickoff meeting and we're about to get this contract signed. And there's this new woman who comes in and she says, "I'm Hope Frank. I'm the new CMO here. All deals are off until I do an audit of what's going on with the marketing here." And I walked out of this meeting and I thought, oh man, if we had come into this meeting a week earlier, the deal would be signed. We would already be working. And instead of losing this deal, we would have had the deal. We would have already had this relationship cemented. So I walked out of the meeting just really bummed out because we had lost this deal. Well, about a month later, as a company, we're meeting together and we're talking about buyer personas and who we sell to and who our target audience is. And this experience came up and I thought, we need to understand these CMOs better because I run a digital marketing agency. We sell marketing services. And CMOs buy marketing services. We should understand these CMOs a lot better. And we should reach out to these CMOs. We should have a connection to CMOs. So I thought, well, what can we do? Well, I'm a writer. Maybe I could write a book for CMOs to, educate them on how to buy marketing services, how to use digital marketing services, how to work with a digital marketing agency. So I thought I'm going to write the book on digital marketing for CMOs. But first, I need to understand CMOs better. So where am I going to figure out who CMOs are and how they tick and what they do and how they think? So I went out and I started reading books about CMOs, but there aren't that many books about the CMO role. And then I remembered I had read this book, Founders at Work, by Jessica Livingston with Y Combinator a few years earlier. And this book has 30 or 40 interviews with entrepreneurs, great founders, and they just tell their story. And I knew that this book was part of a series, that there is also lawyers at work and programmers at work and CIOs at work. And I thought, well, there's this series out there. I'll just go find the CMOs at Work book and I'll read that, and then I'll really understand these CMOs. But when I went out looking for CMOs at Work, I couldn't find it. I went on Amazon, I was searching all over. I was thinking, okay, maybe it's Chief Marketing Officers at Work. I searched for that, couldn't find it. So I went back to the publisher's website, the publisher's Apress, and they have this At Work series. And I found that they have about 40 of these books, but there was no CMOs at Work book. So as I'm on their website, I see this link that says Write for Us. And I click on this link and it says, hey, if you're an author and you have an idea for a book for our At Work series, pitch us on the idea. So I started thinking, I thought, what if I wrote the CMOs at Work book? If I went through the process of writing that book, then I'd be the expert on CMOs. I would really understand CMOs at that point, and that would be a great experience. And then I could really write that digital marketing for CMOs book. So I contacted Apress, gave them my pitch, said, hey, I'm a writer for Forbes. I know how to interview people, and I would love to write this book, CMOs at Work. And they wrote back and said, sounds great. We're going to send you an advance. Here's a contract, and here's your book deal. So that was it. And then I went out, I did the interviews, I put it all together, I wrote the book. I got the book done. So that's how I got my first book deal. A lot of people are going out and they're saying, okay, I've got this idea. They might even write the whole book, and then they go around searching for publishers. But there are all these niche publishers that have these special series of books. They're much easier to approach. It's much easier to talk to somebody there. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have anybody helping me. I just sent an email and I got a book deal that way. Now, I also had the credibility of Forbes behind me and having done interviews for organizations like Startup Grind and such. So I was able to show that I had relevant experience to get this done. And also part of my pitch was also, hey, I write for Forbes, I've got connections, and I think I can get some great CMOs into this book. So I was able to use that as well. But it really just started out with a cold pitch, a cold email to this publisher saying, hey, you've got this series, I can write the next book in this series. And now I've been able to help somebody else get in with Apress, and now they're writing another book that's going to be in that series. So there are lots of opportunities like this to go out there and get your first book published. And then once you have that first book published, then you can go pitch other publishers and say, hey, I've already written one book, it was published through a publisher, now I'd like to pitch you. That immediately puts you at the front of the line, because 99% of the people pitching books to publishers have never written a book before, have never been through the publishing process. So if you can go through the publishing process with maybe a smaller publisher that's easier to get access to, and maybe it's not the greatest book, maybe it's not the best published book, but you've got a book under your belt, then you've immediately got an advantage going in for your second book deal, and maybe your second book deal is the big one, or maybe it's the third, or maybe it's the fourth. But getting that first one, you might want to look at some alternative ways to get that other than going to one of the huge publishers.